Musketeers! Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
With the discussions ongoing both inside and outside of Disney and rumors flying all around about bringing the Mandolorian to Disneyland, we know some evolution and changes are likely coming to Galaxy's Edge.
It is said the creative team is already moving into planning stages, so let's take a look at what Disney might be developing.
Like, subscribe, and stick around.
Hi everybody, this is TC.
And Amy.
With the Disneyland Beat. There have been a lot of rumors in the news recently that have considered the possibility that the Star Wars franchise would be resetting the storyline from episodes 7, 8, and 9, essentially erasing them and starting over with new movies. Wow, a do-over.
And right now, The Mandalorian is the most popular Star Wars thing going and the one people are talking about and anticipating. So lots of rumors are suggesting that The Mandalorian will be coming to Galaxy's Edge. Not to mention that Disney has an entire universe of Star Wars content lined up for the near future. Who knows how it could affect all the parks?
And if changes do come to Galaxy's Edge, it's probably not as simple as having Din Djarin just show up. Batu is so well done, $1 billion well done in fact, and the concept and the timeline and the characters, they're so developed that it just wouldn't make sense to have Mando and Galaxy's Edge interacting with Kylo Ren and Rey and Chewie.
I mean, I suppose you could turn a theme park blind eye, but while that might fly in a land like Tomorrowland, it doesn't work so well in Galaxy's Edge. Tomorrowland may whisk you away to the future, but it does so metaphorically. The land never claims to be anything other than a theme park land. Maybe a really good one, but still it's a collection of attractions and characters put there to amuse you. Anything and anybody sci-fi can be made to work within that premise.
Galaxy's Edge, on the other hand, achieves the exact same thing, however it does so in a completely different way, with verisimilitude, selling its conceit as real. It has layer upon layer on layer of detail and backstory to help create a real place, a real year, and a real location. It asks us to suspend our disbeliefs so that we feel like we've visited the actual Black Spire Outpost on the planet Batu. They set a real year and either it's that year or it's not.
So it just wouldn't make sense if Mando and Kylo were to face off or to have Rey and Grogu hanging out. They are from different times.
Currently, Galaxy's Edge is set sometime between episodes 8 and 9, during the First Order's occupation and destruction of several planets. Rey is around, she is now a Jedi, she's working with General Organa. Kylo Ren is alive and well and coming after you. Chewie is around, but Han is gone, killed by Kylo, and so is Luke. He's gone, having overexerted himself while astral projecting. And that's kind of funny to say out loud. Also, while Finn and Poe stay inside the rides, there were a decent amount of wandering characters, even if rumors suggest that the budget was cut way down for them late in development.
Wandering Galaxy's Edge at its Disneyland closing last March, you could regularly find a couple First Order stormtroopers and an officer, as well as the intimidating Kylo Ren. For the Resistance, Rey, Chewbacca, and Vai Maratti held it down. And they have started having R2-D2 tour the land too. And to put this into perspective, that's 8 characters roaming the land. While in Star Wars terms, this doesn't seem like that many, and we agree it could be more, even with a low budget, that's not bad. If you had 8 meetable characters at once in Tomorrowland or Fantasyland, I'd be really happy.
We think Galaxy's Edge is a huge success as is, and the character interactions have been great, though unquestionably lighter than hoped. But still, we definitely find the possibility of shifting the time period of the land to that of the Mandalorian attractive.
The Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so this really does bring up the possibility of some great characters being brought into Galaxy's Edge that could tie together the original beloved movies with the later films. In addition to Mando and Grogu, or Baby Yoda, we could also see Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, and Boba Fett as characters in the land.
And of course, that means that characters like Han, Leia, and Luke could also exist, and the land could revert to terms like Empire and the Rebellion from the First Order and the Resistance. We have to imagine that having the lineup of characters to meet would drive additional interest in Galaxy's Edge. In fact, just getting to meet Baby Grogu alone would push ticket sales quickly. That does sound exciting.
Some characters would still work if the land was set in Mandalorian times, like Hondo Ohnaka is still alive in this time frame, but he's much more of a renegade and pirate and would not likely be accepted in his current role as the owner and operator of Ohnaka Transports.
How cool to be able to meet and greet with the original quartet, Luke, Han, Chewie, and Leia. And it would be really cool to meet Ahsoka Tano, of course, and think about having Mando, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan and her friends Axe and Casca coming out of the market in Batu. I mean, how cool would that be?
In some ways, the land would work with this change. Batu is purposely a planet meant to be off the beaten path, out of the trade route, if you will, but still have outposts populated enough to keep things interesting and culturally textured. But the overall look of the land is more Old Republic than it is New First Order.
But there would be some issues with moving Galaxy's Edge and the land away from the currently used timeline of the First Order and the Resistance.
We see the fact that The Mandalorian is still being made as a reason to hit the brakes. You don't know where the show is going or how people are going to react to it. It's still a piece of art and media in the hands of the public, and the verdict, though promising, is still not out. We've already had stories break that Gina Carano's character might be removed or recast for reasons nobody could have expected, so anything's possible while the series is still in the stage.
We don't have a clear villain at the moment, and Galaxy's Edge needs a villain, and a villain with resources to sell the role in the story that this land is dependent on having an occupying force and a resistance to it. Moff Gideon is no longer the threat he was, and we have not met his boss. There are rumors of Admiral Thrawn becoming the villain of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, but that hasn't happened yet.
And we love Star Wars Rebels and the Ezra and Admiral Thrawn mystery where they ended up jumping into hyperspace with the Purrgil. And we don't think Disney is done with that story. Anything is possible down the road. There is so much Star Wars content coming out, the newer universe could become as popular and as intricate as the Marvel comic universe.
The largest reason that we can think of the change would be difficult is Rise of the Resistance itself. This ride is probably the best dark ride that exists in the world right now, and the cost to do anything to top it, at least technologically speaking, would be astronomical. And although we have high hopes for the Super Mario Kart ride, we think it will be years before Rise is outdone.
Yeah, it could be reskinned to fit the Mando world. Kylo could be removed and a new villain could take his place. And this could still happen someday, but how do you get away from the overall structure of the ride? You can change the screens and swap out the animatronics, but there's a lot you can't change, and the name isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So maybe one day it'll change, but not for many years in our opinion.
And of course, what would become of the wandering characters? Rey and Vai Maratti? Having these strong female characters in the land is very inspiring to lots of young guests, and me too. So it would be really unfortunate to lose them, and there would likely be some fan pushback on that too, we would think.
The final problem that we see is that the Mandalorian timeframe requires Galaxy's Edge to move backward in time. It would be one thing if the story changed organically, like it was announced in Batuu that the First Order had fallen and Kylo Ren was gone forever and they moved on with the new story. But to go back in time seems much harder and weirder to justify. And that's not to say that Disney wouldn't just do it. I mean, it's a theme park land after all and not a real place. But if they want us to suspend our disbelief to treat Batuu like a real place, they need to back up that with consistency and detail.
Not to mention, it's wild to be talking about the changing of a land that at Disneyland has only been open for a matter of months. Seems crazy.
There are lots of reasons to not make the change, but we still think there will be some. We also think that Disney will attempt to solve these problems in order to include the Mandalorian storyline in the land. Rumors suggest they really want to include a post-Return of the Jedi Han, Luke, and Leia making appearances in the land. There are also rumors to suggest they want to figure out a way to include Darth Vader into the land, which could only happen through some sort of flashback.
It's also not impossible that an expansion could come to Galaxy's Edge that would have story changes or a different timeline or support newly developed characters like the Mandalorian, or ones we haven't even met yet.
Believe it or not, there is room at Disneyland for an expansion to Galaxy's Edge. It would require significant demolition, but it was probably considered before the land was even constructed. We also think there is space and will someday be a copy of the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel if that proves successful and profitable.
My favorite daydream is that they somehow build a second Star Wars land at DCA and then create an attraction like an underground Hyperloop or something that connects them.
But what we think is most likely, assuming Disney moves forward with bringing the Mandalorian timeline into Galaxy's Edge, will be to partition up the land. It will probably be divided into two areas. The Rise of the Resistance area on the west side of the land will be all about the sequel trilogy because of the Rise of the Resistance. The hangar areas on the east side with Smuggler's Run and Kylo's TIE Echelon would be the most likely candidate for the Mandalorian's crew to arrive. Maybe some sort of time shift will be explained as you cross the land.
And of course, Mouseketeers, this is all speculation and rumors at the moment. We very much think that Galaxy's Edge will open more or less the same land it was when it closed, but who knows what the future holds.
With a place like Disneyland, and especially after the last year of surprises, anything's possible.
Well, that's it for us today, Mouseketeers. We hope you enjoyed discussing the future of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland.
Let us know what you think.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
See you real soon.
For all you thirsty pilots out there, if you need to cool down